I just thought it was sandbag. No, it's the same thing, but I just thought of You remind me of dry peas. You know, like we fry peas? Well, that's what they are, like pinto beans mashed up. I can make homemade fried peas. What? Thank you.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I did. Sure, I said no. I'm not going to step. And earlier,
And exhausting.
All right, let's go ahead and get started.
No.
I'd like to welcome all of you to the 6th annual Forensic State Showcase. You're going to see tonight performers that will have qualified for state champs and state festival. This gives the kids a chance to perform in front of an audience before we go. Allows me to see the tape and for them to see the tape and see what they need to improve on a little bit more before we go out next week. Our state is next Saturday at Clearwater for state champs, which is clear down by Wichita, and then I have 2 students that will be going to festival at Salina at Kansas Wesley. So we're going to begin this evening with Chelsea DeWitt, who is a 4-year senior. She has qualified 2 events tonight, or for state. Tonight she'll be performing her solo pianist. She also qualified in IDA with Alyssa Baker. Okay. Now I'm running this camera, so please bear with me. Wait until I give you the cue, okay?
Here we are, standing on the corner of walk, don't walk. You turn away from me, trying not to catch my eye. But you didn't turn fast enough, did you? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking I'm crazy. You think I'd give up. You look at me in my shopping bag and call me crazy for saving this stuff. Well, what should we call the people who buy it? It's my belief that we all at one time or another ask ourselves the question, am I crazy? In my case, that answer came back a resounding yes! Life can sometimes deal us an unkind hand, but it's what we do with the cards that separate the sane from the crazy. In the following selection, an insightful bad lady makes us question which is which, in Search for Intelligent Life in This Universe by Jane Wagner. Another sign is when you see light so clear. Pass out. This is your basic vision variety, who has flashes of insight, but can't get nobody to listen to them because their insights make them sound so crazy. I don't ever want to sound negative about going crazy. I don't want to over-romanticize it either. But frankly, going crazy was the best thing that ever happened to me. Came at my life, nothing else seemed to be working. I got the kind of madness Socrates talks about, a divine release of the soul from the yoke of custom and convention. I refuse to be intimidated by reality anymore. What is reality anyway? My space chums think it was once a primitive form of crowd control. Got out of hand. Since I put reality on the back burner, my days are jam-packed and fun-filled. Like some days. I love this old joke. Go down to Central Park and wait for one of those music-loving tourists from Times Square to come up and ask, how do I get to Carnegie Hall? And I run up and yell, practice! The look on their faces is priceless. I could have never done that when I was in my right mind. People would have thought I was crazy. Must have been why I went off the deep end, woke up in a nut house. It was hooking me up. You know the one thing they don't tell you about shock treatments? For months afterwards, you got fly away! Used to be my best feature. Another thing about those shock treatments, they gave me new electrical circuitry. I started having these time-space continuum shifts. I got like this, built-in Betamax, records everything. It's like somebody's trying to use my brain to dial switch through humanity. Started picking up snatches of other people's lives. I could see glitches. Oh. I've been on like 4 job interviews today. I'm gonna go. I mean, they fired me on the answering service because I would not lie for somebody and tell them they were out when they weren't. Integrity is not a required job skill these days. I mean, I don't want to sound like a cop-out, but my job props aren't exactly my fault. I can't. I'm dyslexic. Yeah. I can't spell, type, or firewall. I mean, you can't type if you can't spell, and you can't file if everything you type is like alphabet soup. Oh my God. What if right now, at this very moment, I've reached my full potential? I have come to the conclusion that if I am going to have any success in this life, it's not going to be through work, but through like personal growth stuff. The seminar I went to, it opened me up like some kind of bronchial spray. I got clear. My seminar leader, he came up to me and said, "Chrissy, you are a classic false hope case." I flashed the time when I lost my contact lenses. And there I was, on the floor, looking for my contact lenses. But I couldn't find my contact lenses because I didn't have my contact lenses. I better get going. That job interview. I mean, don't you think they lied about this gym? The place to meet good-looking men and get thin? I mean, most of the good-looking men here are mostly looking at themselves. I better get going. I just might get lucky. I mean, this job requires no skills. I'll just be hooking people up to biofeedback machines. I mean, at least I won't be lying to them. Oh, I'm out of here. Woo! 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 You ever get the feeling that you're on somebody else's wavelength? Well, think how I must feel. An elegant woman sits outside some beauty salon, rich type, maybe Tramp's Tower. Oh! This is what I get for letting Bucci the arrogant do my hair. I mean, what is this? This side ends well above the left ear, as this side ends, as you can see, at the collarbone. I am so sick of being the victim of trends I reflect but don't even understand. Coming here today was so humiliating. People stared. People would only be intimidated. I said, Bucci, nothing too radical. But by that time, the side was already too radical, and that's why this side is less radical. Since I have been sitting here, 2 new age spots have appeared. I hope they heard that. Yes, I do like what it does for my cheekbones. Well, one of my cheekbones. But my left ear juts. That'll switch me out, that one. These trances can be entertaining, but distracting. Especially since somebody else got the remote control. If that pause puncher happened to get punched, I could have a neurotransmittal mental meltdown. Causes lapses of the synapses. Makes you forget things. Like the other day, forgot where I put my house keys. I looked everywhere for them. And then I remembered, well, I don't have a house. Makes you forget more important things too. Like the meaning of life. But I'm sure it'll come to me. Just hopefully I'll be in. You know what I hate about pantyhose? When you roll them down to your ankles
Hello. Yes, can I call you back? I'm in the middle of something. Thank you. Bye.
Our next performer is Jenny Stratton, who is a third-year junior. Jenny has qualified 2 events for state this year, her prose and her poetry, and she will be performing her poetry this evening.
Wait for my cue, please.
One day, she was my big sister, so normal and well-behaved. The next, she was a stranger, rushing out the door to midnight mass, a wild-eyed Jewish girl wearing only a nightgown. One day, he was my dad, so calm and quiet and in control. The next day, he was a stranger, dragging my big sister away from the door, up the stairs, screaming so loudly, my ears stung. One day, she was my mom, so reliable and good in a crisis. The next day, she was a stranger, standing stock still with her hands clamped over her mouth, her eyes squeezed shut, not even breathing. That day, I sank into a wall, wondering what these people were doing in my house. And I shouted at them that they had to stop, even though I'm not supposed to talk to strangers. Families are often tested by unfortunate experiences that life throws at them. Such is the case in the following selection, where Candy learns to deal with her older sister's mental breakdown in Stop Pretending by Sonia Zones. She hasn't gone to mass, hasn't gone to sleep, hasn't stopped to catch her breath. She can't stop talking. I'm huddled in my bed, rocking in my quilt, wishing I could fall asleep and end this nightmare. Sister's in the cycle ward, and when I visit, I glance towards the other patients, twisted faces, quaking fingers, frightened eyes, wishing I could somehow break her out of there. Usually we go see her every Sunday, and we stay for about an hour, if she's not doing too bad. Most of the time, the 4 of us just sit in the waiting room and talk, when there's something to talk about. Sometimes, Sister won't talk. So the 3 of us have a conversation as if she isn't even there. Only she is. Sometimes, Sister won't stop talking, so we just have to sit there and listen. On a good day, we'll play cards, or maybe a board game. If I stay longer than an hour, I get this weird feeling that if I look into a mirror, I'll see that my eyes have turned into her eyes, my lips into her lips. And if I speak, my voice will come out sounding just like hers. Stop pretending. Right this minute. Stop this crazy act and show me that you haven't changed. Stop pretending you're deranged. Right this minute. I'm your sister. Don't tell me you don't know me. The truth is, I don't want to see you. I dread it. There, I said it. You are balmy, bonkers, daffy, loco, loony, raving, nutty, psycho. You are crazy! I am not. The voices came whispering again last night while she was lying in her bed. They didn't seem to know that she was awake, listening to every word they said. She tried to block them out, but couldn't make them go away. Today, the voices will be gone. But when evening falls and she lies in her bed, she'll hear them come whispering again. Will they strap down her wrists and ankles? Will they shove something hard in her mouth to keep her from biting her tongue? that time we pulled over by the side of the road and Dad gave us some lumps of sugar to feed some horses? Remember that little dog we used to give our Cheerios to? Remember me? Remember last spring when Mom gave you that short haircut you wanted and tucked your freshly snipped ponytail into a plastic bag? We wondered why. The next morning at breakfast, there it was, wrapped into a neat bun on Mom's head, hiding the spot where her hair was thinning. I knew what would happen if I looked at you, but I couldn't help it. You made your eyes as white as 2 fried eggs, and we burst into hysterics. Remember? Remember when Mom went through her gold leaf period? Remember how she went along gluing it on to everything? We had gold leaf doorknobs, gold leaf light switches. We even had that gold leaf toilet seat. Remember? You remember that? You do! I fly home from the hospital to share the news with my parents. She knew me today. She knew who I was, and I knew her too. She was there, really there. Today, I hated to leave. The 4 of us sit down to play Scrabble, and it's my sister's turn. She fiddles with her letters on the wooden rack for what seems like a long time. Finally, she smiles slyly and puts down S-P-I-D-O-S-A-L? Spittlesal? What's that mean? 50 extra points, that's what. Mother peers over the top of her reading glasses, then grins and puts down Q-U-E-E-B. That's not a word. It is now. My sister gives her a high five. It's my turn. I look around the table at my whole family and put down the word B-E-T-T-E-R. Better.
Our next performer is Haley George, who is a 4-year senior for me again this year. She has qualified 2 events for state. She's done informative speech, and you will see tonight her oration. Wait for me.
I, Betty, take you, Tom, to be my lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, from this day forward, until death do us part. These well-known vows were spoken nearly 30 years ago, only to be renounced 26 years later. Tom and Betty are now a statistic. And according to a 2006 CQ researcher, one of the nearly 50% of U.S. marriages ending in divorce. In the past 40 years, the nation's marriage rate has fallen from nearly 3/4 of American households to slightly over half. Moreover, the number of marriages ending in divorce has increased dramatically. Some scholars say that although traditional marriage will not disappear entirely, it will never again be our nation's preeminent social arrangement. In the future, they say, the United States will look more like Europe, where couples are increasingly opting to live together rather than marry. Some experts argue that the recent decline in divorce rate and other positive trends point to a brighter outlook for marriage, while others claim that this decreasing is due to fewer marriages overall. But this all makes me wonder, what about God's laws? We allow them to change just to meet today's needs. The future of marriage is uncertain and creates many problems for children as well as society. Today, we will take a closer look at the many problems facing the future of marriage. Then, we will discuss the impact this declining number has created. And finally,
some possible solutions in solving this dilemma. Let's begin by taking a look at the many problems facing the future of marriage. Demetra Hangen, a successful businesswoman from Alexandria, Virginia, wants no part in marriage. Hengen says, "A lot of people do much better living on their own rather than in a marriage. I'm not saying that we don't need companionship, but you need to assess this need with the things you have to give up when you marry, like your independence, and I don't want to give those things up." Hengen sees herself having long-term relationships that may become permanent, but never leading to matrimony. Demetra Hangen is one of the growing number of Americans who sees marriage as more of an option than a necessity, says Laura Kipnis, author of Against Love, a Polemic. As an economic necessity, marriage has become less pressing, and people are discovering that they no longer need it. It restricts our choices and is too confining, which is why fewer people are choosing to marry. According to the Census Bureau, in the last 50 years, the percentage of American households headed by married couples has fallen from nearly 80% to an all-time low of 50.7%. Moreover, the number of households with marriages ending in divorce has jumped from 25% to 45%, even though fewer people are choosing to marry and those who are doing so at a much older age. The case for marriage is further argued by evidence showing that married men and women are wealthier, healthier, and happier than their single or divorced counterparts, says David Blankenhorn, founder and president for the Institute of American Values, a marriage advocacy group. Blankenhorn also says that children who live in homes with married parents are more likely to do well in school and less likely to have disciplinary concerns. The pros and cons of getting hitched, taking the plunge, tying the knot, are weighed very heavily by a modern, independent, yet cautious society. Let's move on now and discuss the impact of this declining number has created. With divorce rates continually rising from 3% in 1870, reaching 8% in 1900, jumping to 25% in 1925, and doubling to 50% in 1980, the future for marriage in America looks bleak. Marriage is a contract with God and with the judicial system. It is just too easy to break that contract. In Kansas, the number one grounds for divorce is incompatibility. People who file for divorce with the reason of incompatibility can have reasons anywhere from domestic abuse to simply not being able to get along. People who are divorcing simply because they cannot get along are completely disregarding either the contract they made with God when they said those solemn vows and/or the contract with the judicial system that they signed on their marriage license. Either way, a contract is a contract, and there are consequences to breaking it. Though people divorce for a variety of reasons, it has been proven that divorce has a negative effect on the children involved. In the past, the majority of adults believed that divorce merely existed as a stumbling block on a child's path to adulthood. Now researchers are suggesting that the negative effects of divorce in children can be seen well into the child's future, many times in the way that child deals with his or her own adult relationships. The reality is that most children, including myself, do not recover quickly from divorce, and many children suffer for years. Some of the negative effects in children can include poor health, problems in school, higher risk of criminal behavior, higher risk of abusive behavior, and a higher risk of being divorced themselves someday. For thousands of years, marriage has been humanity's most important economic and social institution. It gave women economic security and helped men socially by connecting them to another family. However, we no longer need a spouse for economic security or to financially take care of us when we grow old. We can do these things for ourselves now. Also, marriage is no longer the lifelong commitment that it once was. People even go so far as to looking at it like this: if it doesn't work out, there is always divorce. Or, it's not like I have to live with him or her forever. Also, expectations in a partner are getting higher. It's no longer based on how much you love the person, but more about what that person can do for you financially, or what your spouse can do for you in today's society. And finally, let's look at what needs to be done to secure the future of marriage in America and what others have already attempted. American society needs marriage because it is the most effective way to organize society on a personal level and because it has been shown to be the best way to raising children. Americans just need to become more sober and serious about marriage and do more to prepare themselves for it. I propose mandatory public high school education courses that promote healthy and successful marriages. In addition, I support the fact that many religions require couples to take marriage education courses before walking down the aisle. Matrimony is a promise and should remain that way. Just saying the I do's is not enough to promise a lifetime of partnership. It takes work from both parties to keep the commitment. But is taking marriage seriously enough to keep people wed forever? Do Americans need incentives to stay wed because society suffers at the hands of the marriage crisis? Apparently, some experts think that we do because in 2001, President Bush proposed a new incentive for lower-income Americans as part of the reauthorization of the federal government's welfare program. Recently, the president expanded his proposal. Bush's new Healthy Marriage Initiative would provide $1.5 billion in grants over 5 years to states, local governments, and private charities for a variety of activities, including establishing marriage education courses and advertising pro-marriage messages. Funds could also be spent mentoring troubled married couples and helping to prepare those getting ready to take the plunge. Though President Bush's initiative would not work in every situation, it is a small step needed to move forward in the right direction. In conclusion, today, we have discussed the statistics that point to a scary outlook for the future of marriage. We have discussed the impact this declining number has created. And finally, some possible solutions that might help in solving this dilemma. Matrimony is a sacred act and should remain that way. I know that someday, when I make those vows, I will know what I'm getting myself into. When the priest says, "And now, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to introduce to you for the first time, Mr. and Mrs. Haley Smith," I know that I will keep that vow until death do we part.
All right, our next performer is Taylor Atkins, who is a novice for me this year. She has qualified for state festival, and she will be performing her prose.
Many great chefs of the world claim their country as the original inventors of today's popular pizza. But we now know that none of them are right. In the following selection, we learn the true origin of the pizza pie in The Princess and the Pizza by Mary Jane and Herm Ock. Princess Paulina needed a job. Her father had given up his throne to become a wood carver and moved him to a humble kingdom in a neighboring kingdom. Since the king was still learning, his carvings didn't sell, and Paulina's garden barely kept enough on the table. Paulina missed princessing. She tried princess waving to the townspeople from her father's cart, but nobody bothered to wave back. They just thought she was swatting at flies. One day, a page passed the shack announcing that Queen Zelda of Blonde was seeking a true princess to become the bride of her son, Prince Drubert. "This is my chance to get back to princessing!" Paulina cried. She rummaged through her trunk of ex-princess stuff, brushed the wood shavings from her best ball gown, blew away the bits of sawdust that clung to her diamond tiara. Then she tucked a piece of garlic into her bodice, for good luck, snipped some fragrant herbs to cover up the garlic smell, and headed for the castle. Paulina didn't expect much competition, but when she got to Blonde Castle, she found she was only one of 12 princesses, hoping to become the royal bride. When she looked into her sign room, Paulina saw her bed piled with 16 mattresses. "Oh, for Pete's sake, the old Princess and the Pea trick! That is so once upon a time!" Naturally, Paulina didn't sleep all night because she could feel the lumpy pea through all of the mattresses. When the 12 princesses gathered in the throne room the next morning, the 7 who looked bright-eyed were sent home. Now only Paulina and 4 other sleepy princesses remained. First they were made to write essays entitled, "Why I Want to Have a Gracious and Exquisitively Beautiful Queen Zelda for My Mother-in-Law." Prince Drubert and Queen Zelda finally appeared on the balcony. Queen Zelda did all of the talking. "Congratulations, ladies. You had some lovely essays, and you all passed the mattress test. To make absolutely sure you're of royal blood, there's a second test. Only a true princess can wear these glass slippers. For Pete's sake, you never heard of sneakers? Queen Zelda gave Paulina a sharp look. After the royal page made his way around the room with the slippers, 2 big-footed princesses were sent home. Now only Paulina and 2 others remained. One was followed around by 7 strange little men, and the other one had such a long braid dragging behind her that Paulina kept tripping over it. For Pete's sake, never heard of scissors? Queen Zelda glared at Paulina. You all passed the second princess test. Your final task is to cook a feast that proves you worthy of being my dear Jupiter's wife. The table holds the makings of 3 fine feasts. Choose well, for the winner will become my dear Jupiter's bride. As Paulina started for the table, the long-haired princess tripped her, then loaded up with food. By the time Paulina got there, the 7 strange little men had run off with everything, with some flour, yeast, water, 3 overripe tomatoes, and a hunk of stale cheese. Hey, that's not fair! Queen Zelda, will you help me? No, because you have a big mouth. The servant escorted Paulina to her room and locked the door. Hey, how can I cook without needing bowls, pots, or spoons? There was no reply. Paulina tried to make bread, kneading the flour, water, and yeast together, but it only stuck to the tray in a flattened mess. She squished the tomatoes over the dough. To brighten it up, it looked awful. She sprinkled cheese gratings over the top. It was still a mess, and Paulina was exhausted. For Pete's sake, where's your fairy godmother when you need her? I'm going to take a nap. She reached around the pile of mattresses, pulled out the offending Pete, and climbed into bed. She hadn't been sleeping long when there was a knock at the door. Only 20 minutes left, and I don't smell anything cooking. I'm not cooking. I'm napping. Then I'm going home. You're not going anywhere. The losers will be beheaded. Paulina sat bolt upright. Beheaded? You didn't tell us that. I forgot. Can't we have a second chance? No second chances. That's not fair. Who needs to be fair? I'm the queen. Paulina leaped out of bed, ran to the window. It was an unbelievably long drop to the ground. The meal was her only hope. She rushed the tray over to the fireplace, stirred the few remaining hot coals, and crushed her garlic and sprinkled it over the mess for good luck. Finally, Paulina tossed on the herbs to cover up the garlic smell. Paulina paced back and forth, planning her escape. Perhaps she could make a deal with the long-haired princess to climb down her braid. She hadn't noticed that the goopy dough had browned into a crust, that the tomatoes were bubbling, the hard bits of cheese had melted, and the fragrance of garlics and herbs filled the room. A page opened the door. Time's up! Paulina took a deep breath and carried her tray into the great dining room. The other princesses had made lovely feasts, especially the one with 7 strange little men to help her. Prince Rupert went right to Paulina's tray. It's not pretty, but it smells scrumptious. He helped himself to a piece. What do you call this dish? Paulina shrugged. I don't know. It can't be an official entry in the contest if it doesn't have a name. Oh, for Pete's sake! What's that? Pete's what? Remembering the beheading grid, Paulina frantically tried to think of a name. It's pizza. Pizza. Odd name, but it's tasty. The winner is Paulina's pizza. You mean I won't be beheaded? I was only kidding about the beheading. Then I was only kidding about wanting to marry Prince Rupert. Who needs him? I have other plans. Princess Paulina's Pizza Palace opened a few weeks later, featured unusual carved furniture and 50 kinds of pizzas. Every Thursday on the Royal Chef's Night Off, Queen Zelda and Prince Rupert came to Paulina's for popcorn pineapple pizza. They often stayed to play cards with Paulina's father. From then on, whenever Paulina drove her pizza delivery cart through town, doing the princess wave, everybody waved back. Life was good. Paulina was grateful not to have Queen Zelda as a mother-in-law, but she's still worried about one little thing. She worried about getting Queen Zelda as her stepmother.
Baker and Jacob Klein. They're both second-year sophomores. Alyssa has also qualified an IDA with Chelsea DeWitt. And you will see tonight their duet. Wait a minute.
You should always be able to depend on your family.
Especially in a time of death. Mother Margaret
And son Royce,
can only depend on each other for one thing.
to annoy each other.
In Dearly Departed
By David Bottrell.
and Jesse Jones.
Whoa.
Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine. Oh, no, you don't. Get out there. Hand of salvation, purchase of blood, born in his spirit, washed in his blood.
Good God, Mama!
What was that? Was that blasphemy? Did I just hear the Lord's name taken in vain?
What time is it?
7 o'clock in the morning. And the watchman said, cometh the morning, also the night. If you inquire, turn come.
Uh-huh.
Isaiah 21:12.
What the heck do you want?
Don't talk filth! And what are you doing still late at bed at 7 o'clock in the morning? Why aren't you out looking for a job? Are you suffering from a hangover? Did you spend all night dirty dancing and talking filth? Are you laid up there with some harlot?
No, Mama, I'm not laid up with some...
Harlot! Can you hear me out there? Time to get up, harlot! Wake up, harlot!
Would you stop that? There ain't no harlot here, for gosh.
Did I just hear the Lord's name again?
No, you didn't. Now what do you want, Mama?
Well, can't a mother call up her lazy, good-for-nothing son just to see how he's doing?
Well, why don't you ask me how I'm doing so I can go back to sleep?
Because I ain't got time for your problems. Your Uncle Bud passed this morning.
Good God.
That is free! That is free GOBs and it's only 7:05 in the morning!
Well, I'm real sorry to hear that.
Wanna know what I'm sorry about? Your Uncle Bud never did belong to any church whatsoever. Always scorning and mocking the doings of good Christian people. Oh, you know what that means, don't you?
Don't say it, Mama.
Roasting on the end of a pitchfork as we speak.
Mama, it's awfully early.
Crying out in eternal torment.
Come on, Mama.
Flesh being torn by demons.
How's Aunt Randall? You remember Aunt Randall? The widow. How is she doing?
Well, how do you think she's doing? Her husband just dropped dead at the breakfast table. Awful! She's doing awful. That's why we gotta get over there and give her some good Christian counsel.
What do you mean, we?
Do you mean to tell me you're gonna turn your back on your family at a time like this?
Can't Ray Bud and them come and get you?
No, they can't come get me. They got too much to do. And besides, I'd die ashamed if they knew that my son would have dropped in my only brother's grieving widow. Maybe you'd like me to walk the 21 miles over to Lewis, being at 110 in the shade today. Maybe you'd like me to drop dead from heat stroke.
What time do you want to go?
When do you think I want to go next, Mom? Now! Get your lazy, good-for-nothing self out of bed and come pick me up now! Ugh.
Bye, Mama. Love you too.
I cannot believe you ran out of gas! we sit on Route 35 in the middle of nowhere in this death trap that you call a car with not a speck of gas in it. You did this on purpose, didn't you?
Ray Bud will be here soon. It's been over a half hour since I called him. Said he'd be here as soon as he could.
What time is it?
About 5 minutes later than the last time you asked. It's about 5.
I can no believe it.
Just believe it, all right? Just believe it.
You do these things to torture me, don't you?
Yeah, Mama. I siphoned out all the gas just so you and me can spend a little time together.
Boy, you're a demon, Royce. I swear the devil's incarnate.
Just keep your drawers on, all right? Ray Bud will be here soon. And believe me, he can't get here soon enough. Well, let's just sit here and be quiet for a while.
So we just gonna sleep now?
Yep, that's the plan.
Oh! Hallelujah! Jesus got the
Oh yeah? Well, that's okay, Mama. 'Cause Satan's got the car keys.
What's wrong with you? You got Beelzebub in you! Have a bit of my sweet, innocent little boy, Royce. Why'd you turn out so evil?
Just lucky, I guess.
And to think, I was in labor for 17 hours with you.
Mama, don't get started in on that.
17 hours of unbearable torment.
Mama,
You know, they offered me drugs. You know what I told them? I said, I don't need your dope to ease my misery. I'll gladly bear the torment to bring back to my child.
oh Mama.
Give me a bullet to bite on, I told them. The Lord Jesus, our Savior, died on the cross and still forgive his persecutors. But I can forgive this baby for busting my guts. You know, if I knew then what I know now, I would totally shoot me right there on the table.
Yeah? Well, Daddy probably would have agreed with you.
No, if you don't get a job, you're gonna turn out just like your brother Jimmy. It's safe to say he won't be coming to the funeral.
Leave Jim Ed alone, Mama.
Have you thought about that, Royce? About the future? Them unemployment checks are not gonna keep coming in forever. Life is not dirty dancing, talk and fill, and loose women, Royce! Life is not a good time!
Yeah? Well, you're living proof of that.
Oh, you better straighten up a fly ride or you'll be doing your dance on a bed of hot flaming coals. You better make a plan and make it quick.
I got a plan.
Well, let's hear it. Time's running out, Royce.
Well, when them unemployment checks run out, I'm gonna find me some woman to have a kid, so as I can go on welfare.
That is your plan.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
Got one thing to say with that.
Yeah, what?
Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine.
Okay, our next performer is Ryan Wilson, who is a 4-year senior for me this year. He has qualified 2 events, both prose and poetry, and you will be seeing his prose this evening, right? Say it, come on.
Sure. One evening, recently, the lady whom Uncle Reese calls Miss South misplaced her 7-year-old boy, making search for him through the house and through the yard. She heard voices in the old man's cabin, and looking through the window, she saw the child looking at Uncle Remus. And the child was gazing with an expression of the most intense interest into the weather-beaten face that beamed so kindly upon her. And this is what Miss Sally had heard. The following selection is told by the world-famous Southern storyteller, Uncle Remus. He tells one of his famous stories about how Brer Rabbit tricks Brer Fox once again in Brer Rabbit and the Briar Patch by Joel Chandler Harris. Did the fox never catch the rabbit, Uncle Remus? He come on, Brer Fox did. One day, Brer Fox went to work and got him some time, and fixed him up a contraption which he called a top baby. And he took this here top baby on the side of the road, and then he lay off in the bushes to see what the news was gonna be. By and by, here come Brer Rabbit pacing down the road, as looking as sassy as a jackal. And the top baby, she sat there, she did. And Brer Fox, he lay low. Morning, says Brer Rabbit, says he. Nice weather this morning. And the top baby, she ain't saying nothing. And Brer Fox, he lay low. How you come on there? Is you deaf? You're stuck up, that's what you is. And I'm gonna cure you, that's what I'm gonna do, says Brer Rabbit, says he. I'm gonna learn you how to talk respectable folks, that's the last thing I do. If you don't tell me howdy, I'm gonna bust you wide open. And Brer Rabbit kept on asking him into that top baby, and she kept on saying nothing. Well, Rosetta Brer Rabbit draw back with his face he did, and he bleep. He took her in the side of the head, and his face stuck, and he can't pull loose. If you don't let me loose, I'll knock you again, says Brer Rabbit. And with that, he fought a wipe with the other hand, and that face stuck too. Turn me loose, for I'm not just stuffing out of you, says Brer Rabbit, says he. But the top baby, she ain't saying nothing. She just held on. And then Brer Rabbit squalled out that there top baby don't turn him loose. He butt her crackside. And so, he butted. And his hand got stuck. Then Brer Fox, he said, folk, looking as innocent as one of your Miss Mockingbirds. You look sort of stuck up this morning, says Brer Fox. And then he rolled on the ground and laughed and laughed until he couldn't laugh no more. I expect you'll take dinner with me this time, Brer Rabbit. Here, Uncle Remus paused. Did the fox ever eat the rabbit, Uncle Remus? He come on now, Brer Fox did. But that's all the tale goes. Now I hear Miss Sally call. You better run along home, huh? The next day, the little boy asked, Uncle Remus, did the fox kill and eat the rabbit when he caught him with the tall baby? Lord, honey, I ain't tell you about that. When Brer Fox found Brer Rabbit mixed up with that tall baby, he feel good. And he rolled on the ground and laughed and laughed. By and by, he up and said, well, I expect I got you this time, Brer Rabbit. You've been running around here sassing me after a mighty long time. But I expect you done and did it now. You just tuck yourself in that tall baby without waiting for any invite. And die you ease, and die you stay, till I fixes up a fresh pile and fires her up. 'Cause I'm gonna barbecue you this day for sure, says Brer Fox, says he. Then Brer Fox Rabbit start mad on. I don't deal what you do with me, Brer Fox. Just so you don't fling me into that briar patch. It's so much trouble for a kindle a fire now. I expect I'll hang you. Hang me, skin ya. Skin me, Grandpa! Snatch out my eyeballs and tear my ears, but oh, please! Please, Grandpa, don't leave me to the drying patch! 'Cause see, Red Fox wanted to Red Rabbit as bad as he can. So he caught him up by the hind legs and slung him right down in the middle of that bright patch. And Red Fox sort of hung around to see what the news was gonna be. By, he hears somebody calling. And way up in that hill, he see Red Rabbit looking cross-legged on the ground. Then Red Fox knew that he better swap up mighty bad. And Red Rabbit hollered out, "Been born and raised in the dry patch, Red Fox. Been born and raised in the dry patch." And with that, Red Rabbit skipped off as lively as a cricket in the air.
Performer is Morgan Erickson, who is a third-year senior performer, and she will be performing her solo tunes.
Okay. The following 19th century tale is filled with black magic, worldly truth, and humor. Mother Rigby is a witch who knows what it takes to make a man out of a scarecrow in Mother Rigby by Clay Franklin. 'Tis true, as everybody has heard. I am a witch. I dare say I am one of the most potent witches in all of New England. If you wish truth of what I speak, behold. I smoke this pipe. Oh, but it is cold. So I say, dig on, and call for my pipe. Ah, there. You see how the bowl glows orange? And how the smoke curls from my lips. Deacon is my invisible messenger. Thank you, Deacon. But to return to my task. I arose before sunrise to commence. I am making a scarecrow. Alas, the crows and blackbirds have found the corn peeping up from the soil. Ah, here is my broomstick. On many a midnight I used to gallop around the city, looking over at everything. But now it shall be the backbone to my scarecrow. Now, for his arms. Ah, my pudding stick shall do for one, and a broken round chair for the other. We'll just tie them on loosely. There we go. Now, for the legs, this stick shall do for one, and a hoe handle shall fit just fine. I also tied them on. Okay, so now we move on to the body. Ah, I'll tie this mesh bag around it and fill it with straw. So it looks like my scarecrow has a heart and some lungs and a stomach too. So there we have it. A body with no head. But don't let me fool you. I have a shriveled pumpkin. It shall do just fine. Now, I'll cut 2 holes in it, so it makes it look like he can see. 1, 2, and a slit for the mouth. Now, we must dress my puppet. Oh, I know. This velvet waistcoat shall fit it just fine. And here, 2 silk stockings. We'll stick it on to make it look like the puppet has legs. There we go. And I think, yes, I have a pair of these scarlet breeches. They shall fit just fine. There we are. Oh,
flying over it on my broomstick. So, there we go. Oh, but the finest piece of them all is this plum-colored coat. It was made in London, and it has embroidery on the cuffs, and on the pocket flaps, and on the buttonholes too. Such finery for a puppet. Oh, he kind of looks a little bare on top, so I put a wig on him. This one will do just fine. It was made from my dead husband's scalp. Oh, and a three-cornered hat to go on top, and has a rooster feather in it. Well, look at you. Kind of cute. I've made many a puppet in my day, but never looked so good as this one. Why, I think I could stick him out in the world, and he'd do just as fine as real men. Oh, yes, that is a great idea. But I didn't mean to dabble in witchcraft today. But as a witch I am, and a witch I'm likely to remain, I'll make a man out of my scarecrow. Here, my precious, take my pipe. Very good. Now puff, sweetheart, puff from the bottom of thy heart. Thy life is in thy pipe. Very good, my one. Oh, keep breathing. Yes. But why shalt thou just stand there? Thou hast the whole world before thee. We're going to take a step, my precious. Lift thy arm, and thy leg, and go forth. Oh, very good, my precious, very good. Oh, thou hast a man's aspect. But now thou shalt have a mockery of a voice. All right, my precious. I'd like you to speak. Oh, do not gasp. Speak like I am doing. Oh, very good, my precious, very good. Oh, that can do many good things with this one. Oh, I have a plan. Sit, my precious, sit. Over there in the city, there lives a merchant. His name is Master Gookin. He has a pretty little daughter named Polly. So I say, harkee, my lovely. Sigh, smile, flourish thy hat, and thou shalt have the pretty Polly Gookin as thy own. But whatever you do not take thy pipe from thy mouth, for thy life is in it. Puff, smoke, blow clouds of it. And if they ever find thee getting low, go over to a corner and cry sharply, "Dickon, a coup for my pipe," and stick it back in your mouth as speedily as possible. Oh, yes, this shall work just fine. Oh, take my cane and go forth. Thy head will lead you right to her door. Oh, go on, my precious. If anyone asks thy name, say it is Feathertop, for thou hast a feather in thy hat. And go let go with thee. Oh, I stood at the threshold, watching as my poor puppet walked manfully toward the city. Oh, I was so proud. I did a witch's benediction after him, and did no more sorcery for the rest of the day. Later on, I was sitting at the kitchen hearth when I heard some kind of noise outside. Why, whose skeleton is out of this grave at this time, I wonder? But in opened the door, and in soaked my Feathertop. Feathertop, what has happened to thee? It was that Master Gookin, that villain. He threw my precious from thy door. I'll show him. I'll send 20 fiends after him, and they'll torment him until he comes to you on bended knee, begging you to take his daughter. It wasn't him. Oh, it was that Polly. She's thinking she's too good for my precious. Oh, I'll put pimples all over her face, and make her nose bright red, and make all her teeth fall out. And in a weekend, she'll not be worth your time. It wasn't her. Well, what happened? Did you meet Polly Gookin? Well, go on. She looked at you with love and held your hand. What went wrong? Oh my. She looked in a mirror and so did he. Alas, mirrors are a curse, and only human fools look in them. She fainted, sayest thou? Oh, my poor precious. What did I see when I looked in thy mirror? Only rags and a shriveled pumpkin head. Oh, my poor Feathertop. Don't worry, it will be all right. No, Feathertop, do not take that pipe from them. Oh, alas, look at where it is. You threw it on that ground. Take a look at yourself. All you are is a rag and rags and a bunch of sticks. Oh, my poor Feathertop. I could give him a second chance tomorrow, but his feelings are too tender. And look, his breath of life he threw on that ground. I'll pick it up. I need it more than he does. Ah, but it is cold. So I say, Dickon, a call for my pipe.
Our next performer is Kendall Perry, who is a first year freshman for me. Kendall is also qualified for nationals. She will be going to Houston in May, the end of May, with an event called Oral Declamation. But tonight you will see her prose.
Julie and I pitched a tent in my front yard, right next to the fence where we had first met when we were just 3 years old. We were lying on our bellies, looking through binoculars at Edith's front door. Edith, the evil old woman who lived across the street from me for my entire life. Edith, who appeared to be immortal. One is not supposed to take advantage of children. We should not abuse their trust nor laugh at their gullible natures. But sometimes, you just can't help yourself, as we will see in A Girl Named Zippy by Haven Kimmel. My binoculars were from the Mickey Mouse Club, and I knew that they were absolutely, inaugurably intended for moral purposes, and that the Mouseketeers might be unhappy to find me using them to spy on an old woman. Julie's binoculars were big and professional. They came in a brown, crumbling case that left streaks on our hands. We'd swiped them off of Julie's granny, who was all the time forgetting where she put stuff anyways. If necessary, we were both prepared to swear on the Holy Bible that Julie's granny had given them to us and then forgotten. This was, I very well knew, a shameful use for the Bible. I didn't know how long we'd been just lying there, but it must have been forever. Julie was getting cranky because we'd forgotten to bring the candy bars, and I was beginning to feel the beginnings of 600 chigger bites in the waistband of my shorts. We were about to give up when Edith's front door opened wide, causing my throat to close tightly and my voice to come out in a little whistle. We snapped our binoculars into a locked position, and when I stopped wheezing, I told Julie what I had learned since our last mission. My sister says that she eats stew made out of puppies. Julie turned and looked at me for the briefest second. No! Wait, she wanted to hear more. Melinda says she takes them when they're their cutest, when they have all that extra fur, and just tosses them into a pot of boiling water with some carrots, and that's her dinner. I was convinced. Edith ate puppy stew in order to give her strength to put spells on people. I also thought this because my sister had also mentioned that if Edith ever got me into a hardcore eye lock, she could draw me in, which was unimaginable. When I pressed for details of what Edith would do to me once she had me, Melinda became uncharacteristically silent. Tell me! I have to know how to protect myself! Well, sweetheart, you know she hates you. All of us, but especially you. There's nothing you can do about it. I felt the my sister's leg, like a panicked little monkey. Why does she hate me so much? I've never done anything to her. Well, before you came along, her and Mom used to be best friends. Then you broke them up by demanding so much attention. Plus, she hates all little kids, but especially you. Didn't she know I was going to be born when Mom was pregnant with me? Couldn't they have worked something out then? Melinda looked off into the distance, still patting the top of my head. What, Lindy, what? Mom doesn't want you to know this yet, but I think you're old enough. You're adopted. Mom was never pregnant with you. I had to lie straight down in the dirt. Oh my God. This explains so many things. Not anything I could think of right offhand. But I knew my life was about to become tragically clearer. When the sky stopped twirling, I jumped up and ran straight to my mother, who was sitting in her corner of the couch, reading and eating popcorn from the night before. How could you not tell me I was adopted? Don't you think I have a right to know? And who are my real parents anyways? I was trying to be mature, but periodically spit flew. Gypsies, honey, yes, I thought we managed a good trade. Gypsies? In Moorland? There were at least 42 questions that I needed to ask, but only one that really mattered. What did you trade me for? A velvet bag. A velvet bag? What's a stupid bag anyways? Well, sweetheart, it was a very special bag. See, it had no bottom, just like a human heart. There was no end to what it could hold. Plus, you were born with a tail. I looked at her, completely speechless. My mouth hanging open, exactly like a creature with a tail. Yes, we had it removed so your pants would fit. Also, we did not want you to suffer in school. I jumped up and headed for the door. Okay, thanks, that's good enough for me. I'm just gonna go in. I stood on the front porch for a moment, contemplating the news. Mom and Edith had been best friends because they both liked to read books. They were basically insane. Okay, then Mom and Dad picked me up from the gypsies. Plus, there was all the trouble with having my tail removed. And Mom and Edith couldn't spend as much time together. And Edith got super jealous. And one day when Mom was sweeping the front porch, Edith came in and tried to smother me in my baby bed. But Mom had a premonition and came running in and caught her, screaming like a banshee, whatever that is. And Edith had gone on hating me just as much as the day I arrived in the caravan. And there was nothing I could do unless she could lure me in and squeeze my thumbs. The story snapped itself clear in my head, like a mousetrap. Did she tell you? Melinda asked. Oh yeah, she told me. I took my gypsy blood and my tail and walked right past Edith's house, instead of crossing the street like I always did in order to show my sister a thing or two. But just as I reached the edge of her yard, Edith stepped out of her front door, and I had to run, taking off for my life. Unfortunately for me, Edith lived on through some unholy pact made with the universe. Once a year, she took down her gruesome hair and washed it, and sat in a straight back chair, swinging it from side to side. A process my dad liked to call blowing the stink off. And she never did stop hating me. Thank you.
Okay, our next performer is Parker Roth, who is a first-year sophomore for me this year. She has qualified in informative speech for state. Such an honor to see.
Before we begin, let me just warn you, this is not going to be very good. See, I wrote most of it last night. I did leave the conclusion for the ride over here, though. It's just that every time I went to research, I found a book or magazine that was more interesting. And when I finally got all my information and I sat down to write my speech, a friend called me. Or I got hungry. Or my favorite television show came on. The truth is, I'm really not a procrastinator, but I know a lot Procrastination is a human flaw that can cause undue stress on both the procrastinator and the procrastinatee. Today, I will tell you exactly what procrastination is and the symptoms of it. We'll then talk about the negative effects of procrastination, and finally, what it takes to overcome this ugly habit. Let's begin by looking at exactly what procrastination is. The Wikipedia Encyclopedia defines it as the deferment or avoidance of an action or task that is often linked to perfectionism. Wayne Dyer presents a simpler way of looking at it. Procrastination is the art of keeping up with yesterday and avoiding today. According to Dr. Joseph Ferrari, a professor of psychology at DePaul University, either way, at least 20% of Americans are chronic procrastinators. However, a popular question among scientists today is whether or not procrastination is a habit or perhaps a disorder, such as ADD. The reason this is questioned is because many people who procrastinate often have very similar characteristics, which could be classified as symptoms. A major symptom, of course, is lack of time management. According to Dr. Tim Peschel, a professor at Carleton University, people who procrastinate are often optimistic about his or her ability to complete the task on a tight deadline. Since a large portion of procrastinators are students, he also says that not everything students are assigned is interesting to them. They may not see the rewards from performing the task. Other symptoms of a typical procrastinator include short-term memory loss, only seeing what will please him or her immediately instead of looking at long-term goals, blame shifting, or even physical symptoms like weight problems. All in all, one or a combination of many of these symptoms amounts to putting off what could be done today until tomorrow. Let's move on now and look at the negative effects of procrastination. The most prominent effect, of course, is not getting any work done. Another effect is that gut feeling you get when deadlines creep closer and you just don't have enough time to get it done. Yes, being an average student myself, I know how this feels. And there is no procrastination worse than waiting till break at school to write the paper due the next hour. Another effect is jobs tend to build up as you procrastinate more and more. Say the kitchen is a mess, but your favorite episode of Full House is on. Somehow while you're watching, every other room in the house becomes cluttered, just because you decided to put off cleaning the kitchen. Another effect is jobs tend to become less necessary and more undesirable to accomplish as time goes on, and therefore will probably never get done. According to Seth Bornstein in the Salina Journal in 2006, people who procrastinate tend to be less healthy, less wealthy, and less happy. A potentially dangerous effect is when the task is put off for so long, the person gives up, assuming they just can't complete it due to lack of talent, organization, or self-confidence. Because this person has convinced him or herself that they're not worthy of performing the task, they take comfort in such escapes as food or even alcohol. I can find no research that states procrastination is good for you. So, let's finally move on and look at what it takes to overcome this ugly habit. If, of course, it is just a habit. According to Saban Lefwich in 2006, people who procrastinate are encouraged to focus on starting a project, not on finishing it. This forces the procrastinator to pay attention to just one step at a time, which is much less overwhelming than the whole thing all at once. Another way to overcome procrastination is to realize that with every project you're confronted with, you have a choice to complete it or not. Of course, there will be consequences for not completing a homework assignment, reports for work, taxes, or whatever it may be. But overall, it is your choice. When someone has a choice in the matter, they're much more likely to want to complete the task, rather than when someone says they have to. Saban Lefwich also states 12 helpful tasks for people who procrastinate, a few of which are writing down your ideas and not trusting your memory. If you already don't want to do something, you're probably going to want to forget it, and writing it down would prevent that. Now, if you're thinking that a lot of the information in this speech pertains to you, believe me, you are not the only one. After taking an online test entitled, "Are You a Procrastinator?" I found out I was in the top 10% of worst procrastinators. I noticed, though, that a lot of the questions dealt with memory loss, which may have been to blame for my results. Then I realized that procrastination, it isn't always laziness. It's just sometimes to not overschedule. If you pack your day full of activities, there may not literally be enough time anyway, which to a procrastinator is enough to give up altogether. Another tip is to take breaks. The brain needs to take a break every once in a while, regardless of how long it may take to study for that history exam. Studies show that if you take just a 10-minute break, it will clear the mind and prepare it to keep going. A tip that I have found especially helpful is finding ways to make a potentially boring task interesting. Finding special study habits is what helps me the most. Maybe taking your book with you on a walk, or finding a good study group. Or maybe working all by yourself is what helps you the most. All in all, there are ways to overcome procrastination. In conclusion, today I have told you exactly what procrastination is and the symptoms of it, the negative effects of procrastination, and how to overcome it. Personally, procrastination was a habit for me. I experienced many of the symptoms and negative effects that I have mentioned today. But by using several of the tips I gave, I'm slowly eliminating that habit. Sometimes I slip up. And still, a favorite study habit of mine that does work well for me is working under pressure. But all in all, each task that I complete is getting done on time, or even a little early. Well, except for that book report in English today, I probably should have read a book for that.
Our next performer is Sierra Davis, who is a first-year sophomore, and she will be performing her poetry for us this evening.
Teenage years, always associated with boys, fights, and rumors. But most importantly, a time you'll find your place and discover yourself. I will now present to you the story of 15-year-old Sophie as she finds herself through her own drama in What My Mother Doesn't Know by Sonia Sones. I've got this problem with crying. And once I start, I can't stop. And what makes it so awful is that if I cry any longer than 5 minutes, my eyes swell up like a boxer's for at least 24 hours. I've tried ice packs. I've even tried a little cucumber cure. I've tried raw steaks. But nothing works. Ever. So, when I've been crying, I pray for sunshine. Because if it's cloudy out, everyone keeps asking me why I'm wearing my sunglasses. And I get so embarrassed that I start to cry. And once I start, I can't stop. Every day when I get home from school, I find the televisions on in the living room, the family room, the kitchen, and each one of the bedrooms. There's even a little teensy one on in the bathroom. My mother says it's so she won't miss anything when she's sweeping, dusting, putting away laundry, and emptying out wastebaskets, and cooking, which is what she does all day long, except for when she's lying in bed, watching television. That's where she is every afternoon when I get home from school. She glances up and says, hello, then goes back to watching. I walk from room to room, switching up all the other sets, wishing my mother would show half as much interest in my life as she does in Luke and Lois. Her soaps. My mother says they keep her company, but it's just the opposite for me. Listening to that music that swells up in the background whenever someone announces they're pregnant, or dies of a drug overdose, or maybe finds out their husband is having an affair with their best friend's stepsister's daughter-in-law. It makes me feel even lonelier than my mother used to make me wait for her in the car while she did her errands. I used to be so scared the car would roll away, so scared my mother would never come back. Sometimes, when she's watching her soaps, it feels like she never did. Maybe Dad loves me, but it's hard to tell. I don't think he's ever kissed me or hugged me in his life. Sometimes he jokes around by putting his palms on my cheeks and leaning in and kissing the back of his hands. And when I was real little, he used to hold his long arm out straight and put his hand on my forehead. Then he challenged me to reach him with my short arms. And of course I never could. He seemed to think it was a riot. And I used to laugh right along with him. But secretly I wished he'd cut the stupid game and hold me. Dad's not that way though. Even before they started fighting, I never saw him touch Mom.
not even hold her hand. And I guess he's just not the affectionate type. And come to think of it, neither are his parents. Maybe it's hereditary or something. I sure I'm not going to be like that. But judging from how hard it is for me to keep my hands off Dylan, I seriously doubt it. Mom and Dad used to be in love, way back in the beginning anyhow. I know because I can see it in their eyes when I watch the old home videos of when I was a baby. They were really in love, like people in the movies. But now, they have these hideous battles all the time. They scream their guts out at each other, like about how they should be raising me, or the money, or the in-laws, or even just what movie to go see. And they're shrieking whips around inside of me like a tornado. And no fingers crammed in my ears, no pillows held on my head can block it out. It makes me want to throw on my coat, rush over to or to Grace's. But I can't bring myself to set foot outside. What would I do if I ran into one of the neighbors? A neighbor who's heard every single foul-mouthed word. Seems like Dad's been going on more and more business trips lately. And when he's not out of town, he's at his office 12 hours a day. But once in a while, he makes it home by 6. And the three of us sit and have dinner together. Almost like a regular functional family. We sit down at the kitchen table. Dad flicks on the TV, and we watch the evening news while we eat. Sometimes, I wish I could just switch it off, so we could actually make real dinner conversation, like they do over at Rachel's and at Grace's. My parents just had World War 27. Dad slammed out the door and tore from the car, burning rubber like a thief, escaping from the scene of a crime. Then Mom started bawling and said that Dad was a selfish SOB, and that he makes her life miserable because he doesn't give a damn about her feelings. She would have said it a little more, but I told her I didn't want to hear it. I said she ought to go see a therapist if she's so unhappy, and tell the therapist about it. Then Mom said, if your father had seen a therapist, I'd be cured. Well, I guess that just about sums up her worldview in a nutshell. Another business trip. My father smiles and says goodbye to my mother and me, but he doesn't kiss us. Big surprise. I watch my mother's face as he climbs into the taxi, and suddenly, I find myself hugging her with all my might. Tears. Usually, I can feel them coming. Feel them swirling in my chest like a swarm of angry bees, buzzing up through my neck and filling my head till it feels like a balloon getting ready to burst. Usually, there's time to at least try to stop them before they sting up through my eyes and sit on my cheeks like hot apples. But not this time. I hear footsteps, and there's a soft knock on the bedroom door. Mom slips in and sits at the edge of my bed. It's 11 p.m. You tapped. You didn't tap back. Is something the matter? Yes, I say. Everything. I know how you feel, she says. She looks at me with such sad eyes, and suddenly I find myself telling her the whole story. She doesn't really say much, but it helps to know she's listening. Okay, our next performance is from senior and four-year forensic student Sarah Comfort and senior and second-year forensic student Taylor Klein. Sarah has also qualified a serious solo, as she will not be performing tonight, but you will be watching their duet.
When one puts high expectations on something,
especially in marriage,
it's hard to live up to those expectations. The couple in the following scene have made it through their first
and last
year of marriage and need to celebrate in
Anniversary by Conrad Bishop. Ah, terrific meal.
For a terrific couple.
The anniversary, honey.
The first of many.
Many happy returns.
Speaking of returns, do you want to take a look at the bills?
Oh, no, this is our anniversary, honey.
But there's a final notice.
Yeah, but
I'll just put them on the desk.
so many things have happened in 1 year. So many adjustments.
Adjusting, learning to give and take.
Take charge of our lives, face up to our real problems, and solve them.
And now that we've solved them, things should really be nice.
Because it's been sort of rough, you know?
Well, sure, it's hard to grow. We've grown personally.
We have. Like our quarrels have grown. I don't think anything's matured.
Our anger? we've learned how to deal with it. That magazine article.
Have fun with your anger.
And you know, when we have kids, I'm never going to be angry with them. It's just not necessary. If you love them and raise them the right way, they'll never cause you any problems.
Not many couples can say that on their first anniversary they've solved all their significant problems.
But it's true.
I think we're way ahead of most couples, maybe 5 years ahead of most.
Happy anniversary, honey. Our marriage, well, it's kind of hard to talk about because it really has been this incredible experience.
Incredible, but believable. We're more than married, we're good friends.
Friends? Of course we're more than just friends. It's so stimulating, so liberating. I've been liberated to do so much. New furniture, new colors, new recipes.
Even Zulu cookery. Now the brighter end of the chartreuse scale is
Not often found so early in a marriage.
really incredible.
Honey, now before it gets too late and we get involved in something else, could you take out the trash?
What?
The trash is kind of piled up.
Honey, you're gonna laugh.
What?
It's the garbage. I just can't go with it.
Well, as long as it's out before breakfast.
No, I don't mean garbage now. I mean garbage always. Garbage forever.
But we agreed. Garbage is your province. Do you think we're making too much garbage? Is that it?
No, it's not a recycling question or a question of less garbage or better garbage. It's just the fact of garbage.
Well, it is a human fact. We all generate refuse when you put two people together.
That's it. That's it. The product of our love, our sensitivity, our relationship results in this horrible accumulation. Now, I know it's a petty little thing.
It's not petty. There are 3 sacks of it. Honey, this is our anniversary. I would like it to be a garbage-free anniversary. I just don't understand.
Please, take out the garbage. You take out the garbage.
I could take out the garbage.
Yes.
But I think there's something more basic here.
Honey.
Why do you want to give me the garbage when you hate it so much?
I'm not giving it to you.
I just don't like the idea of having it thrust into my hands.
I'm not thrusting.
You are thrusting.
Why do you use these masculine images? I'm not trying to thrust it. I'm trying to share it. You've never had the freedom to take out the garbage, and I want that experience for you.
Well, thank you. It is a dilemma, of course. Not that it can't be worked out. I have a great concern for the garbage, just as much as Chris does, because it seems to hold this place of importance in our lives.
It's a focal point for a lot of things. And maybe, if we focus on the focal point, then things will come into focus.
So I try to plain old take out the garbage.
Well, that's very blunt.
Okay. Honey, I wonder if I might ask you to expel the garbage.
It rings false.
Okay. Sweetheart, dearest, I know you don't want to because you have so much on your mind, such as solving the nation's balance of payments and paying our bills, but I just don't know what to do with any more garbage. Should I pile in the bathroom or the closets? Or should I serve it again for dinner? Or maybe we could use the house for the garbage and sleep in the garbage, but could you please take it out?
I hate attempts at humor.
Oh, look at this! It's the garbage! Now, wouldn't it be so much fun to do something with it? But I need a big, strong man to help, and everyone will look out their window and say, look at that big, strong man going down those stairs. Doesn't he take good care of her garbage?
She really misses the whole point.
Hey, baby, haul my garbage. Not to take away from our anniversary, of course.
Because it really is a happy anniversary.
Really, really incredible.
I don't know how we got into this.
Neither do I.
I really don't think it's a problem. It's just a new aspect of our relationship.
Oh, yes, although it is an aspect that's beginning to pile up.
All right, look. I'm not trying to shove it under the rug.
No way, no way. Let's put it in the middle of the rug. Some people will have potted plants and we'll have canned fungus. The mold will just match the color scheme. Go on. Say something.
No.
You don't have to repress it.
No, I have to.
I just said, don't repress it. Don't repress it.
But your attitude says repress it. Repress it.
Okay, then repress it. Only repress it better.
Look, we both know that in order for this to be resolved, it has to come out some way. And not destructively, of course, but in a constructive way that will bring us closer together.
Okay, then do it. Do it, do it.
All right! I'm sick of it all. It has nothing to do with the garbage. It's you and the job and the marriage. I want to throw up. I want to get in a car, drive 90 miles an hour to California and forget I ever got into this whole thing because I can't stand the thought of 15 more years of the same old thing. I wanted to take all the wedding presents back to Goodwill, but you come at me with this mousy little sarcastic whine and patch it up with one sincere conversation a week. We speak out day and night and I'm sick of it all. And I feel better.
Do you?
Yeah, I feel good. You feel good?
No.
Well, we have a better understanding.
Can I react to that?
I don't need a reaction.
You. Insensitive. Insincere. Insecure. Immature.
Telephone.
Hello? Oh, Linda, hi! Oh, nothing, just celebrating our anniversary, talking things over, making plans.
Tell her about the house.
We looked at a new house. Big lawn, all electric.